Hello and welcome back to another culinary circumnavigation video around Jamaica. We've been exploring the cuisines and the culture of different countries, and this one's all about Jamaica. But today, I turn it over to my wife, who's gonna do curry chicken Jamaican patties, and they are phenomenal. Here's how we do them.
So today I'm gonna make the pastry dough for the patties that we'll be making here shortly. So in this bowl I have the curry powder, salt, and flour. To that I'm gonna add some shortening and some butter. And then you want to mix this until it kind of crumbles to like a pastry type consistency. Now that I've incorporated the shortening and the butter, you can see that there's little crumbles in here. I'm going to add the water to make it into an actual dough form. If you find your mixture too dry, you can add just a little bit of water at a time to get it into the dough consistency, like I did here. Lightly flour the surface just a little bit, and then I'm gonna roll this out into a long log form. Okay, now that we have the dough prepped, we're gonna let it set here for a few minutes while we go over to the stove and prepare our filling. Okay, so now we're ready to prep the filling. What I did earlier today in preparation for this is put 2 chicken breasts in the Instant Pot, set it to cook for 8 minutes, let it natural release, and now we're gonna get ready to shred it up and chop it up to go into the pastry. Okay, now that we have the chicken breast, what I'm gonna do is pull it apart and shred it up like this using 2 forks. Or you can do the easy way and just go. Okay, now that that part's done, we're gonna move on, and I'm gonna actually use a little mini chopper to chop this up to even finer pieces. Okay, now that we have the chicken into smaller bite-sized pieces to go in the pastry, we're gonna mix in our seasoning, which is salt, pepper, curry powder, thyme, and then we're gonna add chicken broth to it, and we're gonna saute it in a pan. The recipe also calls for onions, but I don't really care for onions, so I leave them out of the recipe. So here we go. I heated up the skillet with a tablespoon of olive oil, and now I'm adding the seasoning, and top it off with the beef broth. Okay, what I'm doing now is just heating up the chicken just a little bit to mix the spices in the broth to coat all the pieces of chicken with the seasoning. Now that we have this in here, we've got it just slightly warm, we've got everything incorporated into it. I'm gonna turn off the heat and let it sit here while I move over to the other counter to prep the dough and get it rolled out ready for the filling. Now I'm gonna roll the dough out to approximately a 6-inch circle. Now that I have these rolled out into somewhat of a circle, I'm gonna be ready to put the filling in here. I'm not too pressed about it being a perfect circle because I'm gonna use a knife to cut the shape that I need. So, okay, I'm putting about a teaspoon, maybe a teaspoon and a half of filling in each pastry. Then I'm going to fold it over on itself, and then just press it down to seal it. And what I'm going to do is just trim off some of the excess so that I have a nice shape. And then I'm going to take my fork and just seal it along the edges like this. And then I'm going to put it on a lined cookie sheet with parchment paper. All right, I'm going to prep the rest of these, and then we'll be ready to go. Now that they're all prepped and ready to go in the oven, I'm going to lightly brush them with an egg wash before we place them in the oven. Now we're going to put them into the preheated oven, which I preheated before we started making everything, to 400 degrees. And they'll cook for 20 minutes. the patties are done. They were in the oven at 400 degrees for 20 minutes. So now to taste them.
This is a change of pace. Normally, you're the one in tasting something I've made, so I'm excited to taste this here.
Yes.
All right, you ready? Bon appetit. I want to see what one looks like inside, too.
Yeah.
The flavor is really good.
The texture of the dough is off.
It's a little
crust,
dry.
Yeah.
You think it's just too thick?
I think it might be rolled too thick.
So I would say roll these out really, really thin to the point where you think they might break.
I got the flavor, it's just not got that flakiness of the Jamaican patty. More like a pie crust.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Another Jamaican recipe, this time curry chicken patties. They're really pretty good. I would just say roll them thinner than you saw in the video a little earlier and make the dough just a little bit less dry. Really, really good. Hope you guys try this recipe. We'll see you next time as we continue our culinary circumnavigation on the island of Jamaica. We got to go back. Come back to Jamaica.
We do.